We are not suited for this.
If not us, then who?
Welcome to Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Arey, and let's talk about what's next for Star Wars after the Book of Boba Fett. The next Star Wars series is going to be Kenobi, but it's a kind of prequel. So instead of talking about that, we're going to focus on the shows that take place after the finale of the Book of Boba Fett. That's The Mandalorian, Ahsoka Tano, Boba Fett Season 2, and the on-hold Rangers of the New Republic. Probably won't get made, but we'll talk about it anyways. I've also got theories about what all of these shows are leading into, the crossover movie, and how this can restart a new trilogy set hundreds of years in the future.
Hey, why are you so dressed up?
Actually, Doug, I have a job interview today.
Oh, you're gonna be a sweaty Southern lawyer?
Actually, no. I'm interviewing for the manager position, so if I get it, I would be your boss. What do you think about that?
That's nice. I don't really care.
So all season long in the Book of Boba Fett, we've been confused about its structure. Why constantly cut to flashbacks? And why have 2 episodes where Boba Fett either doesn't appear or just has a cameo? I think it's because Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni don't think of this as a normal single season of a TV show. They just see this as a smaller part of a much bigger story. A story that spans several different TV series. So in their mind, it would be impossible to tell the story of Boba Fett without also telling the story of Grogu and the Jedi Temple. This show has always been concerned with a larger story. As we discussed in our Mandalorian 3 video, this is all eventually building toward the rise of the First Order. We saw an inkling of this in The Mandalorian Season 2. We saw those weird cloning chambers, and Moff Gideon tells us why he needed Grogu's blood.
This child is extremely gifted and has been blessed with rare properties that have the potential to bring order back to the galaxy.
So here's what we know about the First Order and Palpatine's super secret Sith fleet. In the Aftermath novels, we learned that after the Empire was defeated at Jakku, the remaining Imperials, the best of the best, went off into the unknown regions to rebuild. The unknown regions are this deep, dark part of the galaxy that's really hard to get to that we saw in Rise of Skywalker. And 30-odd years later, these Imperials become the First Order and they move back into the galaxy. But the unknown regions are also where Palpatine was rebuilding his own fleet and his body. And this is where a whole other group lived called the Chiss Ascendancy. Now you may have heard of one of their best and brightest, Grand Admiral Thrawn, but more on them in a little bit. Now let's talk about how all of this actually affects each show and their characters. I don't know if there's going to be a Boba Fett Season 2 or if we're just going to see him operate in the background of all these other series. After the events of the finale, he has Mos Espa and Tatooine fully under his control. I think that as a man who wants to
Rule with respect.
he'll work to make sure the Tuskens are finally treated equally and that their lands are left alone. Heck, I mean, you never know. Maybe we'll start seeing these cultures integrate and trade. Next time someone walks into the Mos Eisley Cantina, there might be one of the sand people at the bar drinking a bloody Rancor through a straw. We also saw that he chose to use the Rancor in the final battle instead of flying his fire spray gunship in there and blasting away. This is for a couple very important reasons. For one, a lot more people would have died if he started blasting the city with his gunship. And the whole point of staying in town instead of retreating to the fortress was so he could be seen fighting for the people of Mos Espa. He wanted to earn the respect of the people by riding a Rancor into battle in the middle of town. That's a lot more impressive than a litter. This all solidifies his rule of Tatooine and allows him to now look outward.
That sure is a wizard necktie. Where did you get it?
Oh, this? I got it from cufflinks.com. They're the sponsor of this video. That's where I got all this really cool Star Wars gear that I'm wearing today. This site is amazing. They have officially licensed merch from Star Wars, Marvel, DC Comics, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Star Trek, and all sports teams. These are the perfect gift for Valentine's Day, especially for fans that are hard to shop for. Like, check this out. I got these really cool Boba Fett dress socks and these cufflinks. I wear them to remind me that I'm not my father. Plus, the ties that I've been wearing all day are Star Wars ties. You just can't tell until you look up close. They're perfect for wearing to the office or a job interview. In fact, this child charcoal tie even has a hidden message on the back. It says, "The Force is strong." And I'm wearing this Darth Vader lightsaber men's bracelet that actually detaches when you ignite the saber. Super cool. So cufflinks.com has a special discount for Screen Crush fans. If you use the code ScreenCrush15, you get 15% off any item on the site, no minimum order required. This is potentially a huge savings. But act soon because the deal ends on March 31st, 2022. And the end credits scene also shows that Cobb Vanth has lived, and he's about to get some cybernetic modifications. Now, Matt in Texas 36 on Twitter thinks that Boba Fett is going to have Cobb Vanth be a Marshal of Mos Espa. Maybe, or maybe he's earning Cobb's loyalty like he earned Fennec Shan's loyalty. If you have a deadshot cyborg working for you, why would you have him stay on Tatooine? I think it's more likely that Boba Fett is going to expand his criminal empire. Cad Bane does say,
You gave it a shot. You tried to go straight.
But has he? I mean, he's not selling spice, but he's still offering protection, running rackets, and accepting tribute like a feudal lord. I think Fett is setting himself up to be a kind of shadow New Republic in the Outer Rim. In the same way the Hutts had Hutt space, he's going to have his own influence over the affairs of a large part of the galaxy. This is going to bring him into conflict with the other forces who are prevalent on the Outer Rim. So let's talk about who else is out there. First, we have various Imperial warlords who have been outcasted or fighting for control. Moff Gideon is one of these. Then we have the crime syndicates, such as the Hutts, who at this point are basically powerless. In the comic book War of the Bounty Hunters, Vader killed the Grand Hutt Council, leaving Jabba in charge of all their affairs. The Hutt twins that we saw earlier in the book of Boba Fett they're more like layabout playboys who retreated at the first sign of trouble.
This shit, I'm out.
Now that Jabba the Hutt is dead, there's a large power vacuum that Boba Fett is able to step in and fill. There's also the Pikes, who have been significantly weakened, and there's also the Black Sun. We don't actually know much about what they're doing right now. A lot of people have mentioned Crimson Dawn as a potential adversary. This is the criminal organization from Solo that was led by Darth Maul.
Kira, you and I will be working much more closely from now on.
Now, after Maul disappeared, Kira took over leadership. Now we're seeing what became of all of that in the ongoing comic book Crimson Reign. But the very beginning of that comic says that her story is a tragedy, implying that things don't turn out too well for Crimson Dawn. She even begins the comic by saying she wants to destroy the Sith, and she didn't. So I'm gonna guess that her story gets told in the comics and nowhere else. Now we just have this enormous power vacuum in the Outer Rim for Boba Fett to fill. Now, while the New Republic is focused on the core and mid-rim systems, the Outer Rim is increasingly lawless, a place where evil is growing.
There's something going on out here. They don't believe it on the core worlds, but it's true.
Now, Lucasfilm was developing a show called Rangers of the Republic. That has been put on hold after its star made some very controversial statements on Twitter. Now, the series was going to show us how the New Republic was dealing with these growing threats. And since Cara Dune lived in the Outer Rim and this was meant to be her show, we can assume that the action would have stayed in this lawless corner of the galaxy. Now let's talk about The Mandalorian Season 3. Now, we already did a video speculating about what was going to happen, but most of what we predicted already happened in Episode 6 of Boba Fett. So here's what we absolutely know about Mandalorian Season 3. He's going to be flying around with Grogu with the most unsafe child seat of all time. He lost his honor by removing his helmet, and now he wants to regain it.
According to Creed, one may only be redeemed in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore.
So let's review about what we know about Mandalore at this point. So Mandalore for centuries was a bellicose planet. Constant civil wars made it into a desert world. After everybody got tired of war, they became like Smokey, total pacifists, and exiled all the warriors to their moon Concordia, which actually seems silly because Concordia wasn't flattened into glass by war, but whatever. So these Concordians retained their armor and their Mandalorian heritage.
This is the way.
And this is where the Armorer sect lived for centuries. Back on Mandalore, the pacifist planet stayed out of the Clone Wars under the leadership of Obi-Wan's teen crush, Duchess Satine.
I've loved you always.
Satine's sister was Bo-Katan.
I am Bo-Katan of Clan Kryze. I was born on Mandalore and fought in the Purge.
And she sides with the warmongering Mandalorians on the moon. Remember, the moon Mandalorians are into war and battle, so their ultimate symbol is the Darksaber.
This lightsaber was stolen from your Jedi temple by my ancestors during the fall of the Old Republic.
They believe that whoever wins it in combat is the rightful ruler of Mandalore. Keep changing ties because I'm nervous. Which one do you like? Do you like this one? Eventually, the Moon people conquered Mandalore with the help of Darth Maul and some crime syndicates. Then Maul crawfished him and took Mandalore for himself, and winning the Darksaber in the process. Now, eventually, Bo-Katan mounts an attack on Darth Maul with the help of the Republic forces and Ahsoka Tano, and they retake the planet. Also, during this time, Ahsoka defeats Maul, making her the rightful heir to the Darksaber. Actually, wait. Before this, Darth Sidious defeated Maul, making Anakin the rightful heir to the saber since he defeated Darth Sidious, which means that, like the Elder Wand, the Darksaber technically has no heir, except Anakin didn't actually defeat Palpatine, he lived, and then Rey defeated him, so Rey should own the Darksaber.
You are off topic. Stay focused or you'll never get that job.
Sorry, you're right. I'm just so nervous and I really want to impress them. So, Bo-Katan retakes Mandalore with the Republic, but like 9 seconds later, the Republic becomes the Empire and subjects Mandalore to brutal rule, dividing all the great houses and ousting Bo-Katan. Years later, the Darksaber resurfaces and its rightful owner is kind of Sabine Wren, who then just gives it to Bo-Katan. and Mandalore rebels against the Empire, which doesn't last long. Pretty soon, the Night of 1,000 Tears occurs, where Mandalore is flattened once again, pilfered for its Beskar in the Great Purge, and Moff Gideon defeats Bo-Katan in combat, winning the Darksaber. So now, Bo-Katan wants the saber back so she can retake Mandalore, while other Mandalorians like Din believe that the planet is cursed.
That planet is cursed. Anyone who goes there dies.
But now Din's main goal is to return to Mandalore and bathe in the waters where the Beskar is mined. Only then will his sin of helmet removal be redeemed. Now in The Mandalorian Season 3, this will align his goals with Bo-Katan's, who wants to liberate her homeworld and rule it once more.
We're seizing those weapons and using them to retake our homeworld.
So these two will become uneasy allies, but Bo wants the Darksaber for herself, making her the antagonist of Season 3. Din started off not wanting the saber.
I yield. It's yours.
But now he's stuck with it, and he wants to be able to use it. To retake Mandalore, they will need one another's help, and they're going to need allies. Maybe the New Republic troops in the area from the show that would have been the Rangers of the New Republic. Maybe they'll also have allies from Boba Fett's growing criminal empire. And, who knows? Maybe Ahsoka Tano will return to Mandalore. She spent a lot of time there teaching kids when she was a Padawan.
The point is that temptation is always there, and citizens must be vigilant.
Now we keep saying that Mandalore needs to be liberated, but the question is, from who? Moff Gideon is captured, but there are still Imperials on the planet. After all, we are in the lawless Outer Rim, where Imperial warlords are still vying for control of what's left of the Empire. And they could be led by none other than Grand Admiral Thrawn. You remember Thrawn, this guy.
Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?
Here's a brief explanation of who he is and how this will tie into the Ahsoka show. Thrawn is from those unknown regions of the galaxy, and he's a Chiss, a blue-skinned, red-eyed alien. He's a brilliant tactician.
I will start my operations here and pull the rebels apart piece by piece.
Who actually, as far as I know, has never lost a fair fight. There's always some kind of unforeseen surprise, like a giant force creature that saves his enemies from destruction.
I bring death.
Thrawn was part of the Chiss Ascendancy, but he left them because he thought the galaxy needed a firmer hand, so he swore loyalty to the Empire, though I still think his loyalty lies with the Chiss. I think he might be connected to Mandalore because Thrawn has always seen the importance of technology and the minerals used to create armaments. A couple of his novels revolve heavily around a near-invincible mineral called Dunium, so it would make sense if he saw Mandalore's strategic value and worked to mine what Beskar was left for the Chiss. But of course, Thrawn is going to feature most heavily in the Ahsoka series. So here's a brief recap of Star Wars Rebels and Ahsoka's mission. Rebels followed a small rebel cell in the movement's early days. Ahsoka was working in the shadows, coordinating different cells on separate planets. Now, one of these young rebels is a Force-sensitive kid named Ezra Bridger who kept going up against Thrawn. The series ends with Ezra convincing a few space whales to teleport him and Thrawn to some distant corner of the galaxy. Then, after the Galactic Civil War ends, Ahsoka leads a journey to find Ezra and Thrawn. She's joined by a Mandalorian named Sabine Wren, that's the person who gave the Darksaber to Bo-Katan. So do you see how all these kind of loose threads seem to be tying together around Mandalore? Now, Ezra also saved Ahsoka's life, so she feels like she owes him. And one thing I think is going to come into play in this series is that Ahsoka Tano has led a very weird, very spiritual life that hints that she's going to have a much larger importance. Yes, she was Anakin's Padawan, and her leaving the Order did directly lead to him becoming Darth Vader. But more than that, there was a 3-episode arc of the Clone Wars where she, Anakin, and Obi-Wan encounter, I guess you'd call them 3 Force spirits, called the brother, the sister, and the father, representing the dark side of the Force, the light side, and the balance between the two. So Ahsoka actually dies, and the energy of the sister saves her, kind of making Ahsoka the new avatar of the good side of the Force. She's even followed around by the sister's spirit animal, an owl named Morai. You can actually see it in The Mandalorian right here, up in the tree. Now, Darth Vader almost killed Ahsoka in a duel before Ezra pulled her into a weird limbo called the World Between Worlds, like a nexus of space-time. And as far as we know, she spent the rest of the Galactic Civil War in isolation, basically meditating on her purpose. So there is something deeply spiritual about her journey. So in the Ahsoka series, she's going to be looking for Ezra and Thrawn, and this is going to lead her and Sabine Wren straight to Mandalore. Now, like I said, I think all of this is leading to a massive crossover event that ties all of these shows together. This could even be the untitled Star Wars movie that Kevin Feige is producing. After all, nobody knows better how to tie together dozens of characters and story threads in a cinematic cinematic universe. So this will basically be the battle for the Outer Rim, where the Chiss Ascendancy decides to make a move on the rest of the galaxy. The New Republic military is largely disbanded at this point. I mean, even their prison ship was run by droids and one very lonely guy. So it's going to take the combined forces of Boba Fett, Mandalore, and the small New Republic forces to beat back this threat of the Chiss Ascendancy. But here's the thing. Remember how I said that all of this is actually leading up to the rise of the First Order? Well, they are currently licking their wounds out in the unknown regions, where the Chiss Ascendancy are from. So if the Chiss are defeated by this ragtag group of Outer Rim heroes, then this will lead to a power vacuum in the Outer Rim. Power vacuum that the First Order is going to fill. But finally, think about how all of this could lead into the next phase of Star Wars, way beyond this Resistance era. Let's just say that Din becomes ruler of Mandalore. Then his heir would be Grogu, a Force-sensitive Mandalorian warrior who wields the Darksaber. And maybe the title of the show, The Mandalorian, is actually about him, and this is all his origin story. We could be looking at the beginning of the Grogu dynasty. Now, as all this is going on in the Outer Rim, Rey Skywalker is off in the core systems, rebuilding the Jedi Order and the New Republic. In a few hundred years, the Jedi will be back at full strength, better than ever, having learned from all their mistakes, while the Outer Rim will belong to the Mandalorian Wizard King, Grogu. Maybe Grogu's lived a good life, ruling justly, but other factions betray him, seizing Mandalore and declaring war against the Jedi. Or maybe the centuries of loss have hardened Grogu's heart, and he's the one who decides that he can run the galaxy better than the Republic. If we ever do get a Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy, or just any other era of Star Wars, a war between the Mandalorian and Jedi hundreds of years in the future would be a pretty great place to start.
Blue sky smiling at dark, nothing but ducks cash shining on dark.
I'm a lineman for the gun. Guess what, buddy? Good news.
You seem happy. Did you get the job?
Even better, they told me that I was way too important in the job that I have right now, and that I could keep my job for the same pay.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations. I still don't care.
I know, right? Well, that's just what we think is going to happen next with The Mandalorian. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, or add us on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Arey.